It's time for the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Each week, Trading Stocks Made Easy demystifies stock trading and investing so you can profit big. And now, here's the host of Trading Stocks Made Easy, the wealthy investor, Tyrone Jackson.
Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, and welcome back to another incredible episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy. We've been doing these things for the last, I'd say, probably 7 episodes, which I like to call Traders Roundtables. And what that is a bunch of my students randomly selected to kind of come into the studio and share their stories as investors and traders. And we have an episode tonight that you do not want to miss. So here in the studio are a bunch of my wonderful students here in New York. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
The whole world is listening right now. I don't know if you know that. So there's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. I want everybody to have a sense of who's here tonight because we're going to talk a lot about how you trade, how you invest, what drew you to the stock market, what you like, what you don't like. I assume most of you like the money that you're making on a regular basis?
Absolutely.
Is there anybody here who's actually despising the money that's coming in? I don't think we're having that experience, right? So I'm going to go around and introduce each and every one of you, and maybe just in a minute or two, tell us a little something about your background and how our paths actually came to cross. And up first is the beautiful Jessie Shaw. Jessie, welcome.
Well, thank you, Tyrone. I discovered you. My sister found you, and that's how I got pulled in. And I waited, about a year before I was actually able to come, and then I came, and then I just kind of couldn't get enough.
Well, I hear that a lot. And we'll keep it clean tonight. How about that?
Okay, good.
So you were actually on another episode, and actually you were kind enough to come back and be part of our roundtable. But just remind us really quickly, you grew up in Colorado.
I did. I grew up in southern Colorado, a little bit south of Denver, and moved to New York, many, many years ago. So I kind of consider myself to be a New Yorker now, but definitely have those roots in Colorado.
And I find so interesting about all of your backgrounds is, none of you have any background really in finance, but your father was a professional musician and worked at an ad agency, right?
He was. And yes, he did that. And I don't know. I had a grandfather who was a doctor, so and then I always loved math when I was a kid, and I think music is kind of connected to math, and I was a musician as well, so it all seems to work together.
Now, you're also one of those really, really smart people in the program because you have 2 master's degrees.
Well, I don't know about the smart part. Maybe I just have a lot of endurance. I think it's endurance.
What are your 2 degrees in?
I have an MBA in marketing and statistics from NYU, and then I've got a master's of Oriental medicine. So I practice acupuncture and Chinese herbs.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
I got out of high school. So we'll leave it there. Okay, and also next to you is Shannon Summers. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
Great. Happy to be here.
Okay, you hail from Texas, right?
Yes.
And a very small town in Texas.
I grew up in a wide spot in the road, basically. My family were all wheat farmers, cattle ranchers, so we had more cows than people where I'm from. So
wow.
Yeah.
And what brought you to New York?
I moved to New York in 2001, and right around the time of 9/11. So the plans I had when I moved here kind of got sidetracked. I ended up working for this really great company that works with actors. That's actually where I met you. And I was looking back, I think it's been like 2008 when I first met you.
It's a long time. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was amazed how much time flies.
I was actually speaking at Actors Connection on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we met.
Yeah. You were introducing your program to actors primarily at the time, and I'm not an actor, but I was really referred to sit in and listen, and I did, and I just thought, wow, this is extremely powerful. I really want to do this. It's certainly not something that comes natural to me or is easy for me, but I just think it's too important at the time I realized right away it was just too important to not want to do it. So I was glad to join the program then. And I did for a few years, and then I took a break for a while. And then a couple of years ago, I came back. So.
Yes, I remember that. That. And next to you is Marion Hunter, who was on a previous episode. But just remind us, you also, there's a connection to Texas as well. You were born there.
Yes.
And then somehow...
I grew up in upstate New York, and I came to New York to go to school and stayed. And I met up with you because you had an ad in the Women in Film newsletter that you were doing a class for, it said wealthy artists, and I was doing video resumes for artists at the time. And I thought, oh, wealthy artist, I should go there to get some clients, which is why I took the class.
Yes.
And then Tyrone was teaching us how to be more professional, successful artists. And he just casually mentioned, well, you know, I also teach investing and stock market trading. And yeah, I do that.
Yes.
And I was like, you do what?
And that's how I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And Schubert is here. Schubert, tell everyone your first and last name.
Schubert Parat.
Yes. And your story I absolutely love. So just tell us a little about your family background.
Okay.
And then we'll stun them later with what it is you actually do professionally.
Okay, no problem. So my family are immigrants, actually, to the United States from a small country called Haiti.
Yes.
And, you know, they came here with the dreams, the American dream. And they have been wildly, wildly successful, you know, not only for themselves, but for their children. And myself and my brother have listened to our parents, did the work, and to some degree, you know, I know I've said this to you in the past, I was destined to be here.
Boy, were you. Your father called it right, didn't he?
He did call it.
Tell our audience what your father
back.
said. Because your father had done well in real estate.
Yes, my father had he had come to this country with all the trades. And so he knew a little bit about plumbing, carpeting, painting, et cetera, and he had worked in that industry and discovered real estate and said, you know, I can maintain these apartment complexes, buildings, and he just kept growing and growing and growing. And then he understood the work that it took to maintain. And he said, you boys, this is not the place for you. You guys are way too educated. You guys are really, really smart. What is the key for you guys and what's going to make you guys successful and rich is going to be the stock market. I was like, really? I'm like, who's going to teach us about that?
Right.
You know, why don't we just do what you did? We'll just follow the blueprint and we'll just be successful just like you. You know, you came from nothing to where you are now to retired. And I'm like, we want to do that. And our relative starting point is so significantly different. We're like, you know, we've gotten a college education and we've gone further. So, you know, so our starting points and our ability to absorb this information is so much greater. So I'm like, why don't we just teach us? He's like, no, you want nothing to do with this. Trust me.
Okay. And you're referring to, why don't you just teach us how to own real estate and
manage it, you know, the books and, you know, how to do little repairs. You know, he's like, do you know how many times you got to go to court? You know how many toilets you got to fix? You know, people call you at all times of the night and the headaches that come along with it, the inspectors. He's like, listen, this is a headache. And you guys just get to see the good parts, but you don't know the headaches that I have to put up with. He's like, but this stock market thing, that's the ticket.
Yes. Now, why do you think your father said that? I mean, that was a fairly amazing thing to say.
So I'll tell you a little bit about my dad. So my dad is one of these guys that, although English is not his first language, he would read the paper from cover to cover. We live in Jersey, the Star Ledger, cover to cover, every single day. Mm-hmm. The Sunday Star Ledger is like full of classified, and that's where he would find his real estate, actually. So he would learn and read the whole entire section. He'd read the section on wealth, money, and he's like, this is where my kids have to go to be successful.
So he kind of saw that as the wealth progression
Correct.
thing. Now, you are not only a physician,
Yes.
you are the head of the entire emergency room at what hospital?
I'm the chairman of the emergency department over at East Orange General Hospital.
Can you say that again? I just like the way that sounds. The chairman of what?
The Department of Emergency Medicine at East Orange General
Yes.
Hospital.
Okay. So, like,
Yes,
I teach some pretty high-end folks here. Is really what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir. Yes, you do.
You're elevating my whole cachet by being on this program. So I thank you very much for that.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And it's just great. You know, one of the things I love is you guys all have such diverse backgrounds. I don't know if any of you ever thought that you'd be essentially clicking your way to wealth. Is that right? Did anybody have
It's
any?
unbelievable.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Why is it unbelievable, Shubert?
it's one of those things that until you do it and you start telling people about it that are close to you, I speak to my brother, my wife, they're like, are you sure this is legal? It's true. Uh-huh. And it's like, it just can't be that easy. It just can't be just a click of a button. And literally, that's what it is.
Right.
And, like everyone else in this program, I'm sure, I trade some time on my phone. I'm driving and I'm like, wait a minute, we have to pull over. Right? There's a trade that I have to get out of right now to make some money and make some profits. So it's been really, really an exciting ride. And I still pinch myself today because the stock market is just so volatile and it changes and the environment changes. But it's an experience and it's like a roller coaster ride. But, if you really like that thrill, and, there's some parts of it that, really, really want to be steady. But, it's the excitement that really, the unpredictable nature that really makes it exciting.
Now, Jesse, you once said to me, because this is the other thing that I find so fascinating about each and every one of you, because we're not talking about, no commitment. You're all very committed. Jesse, you once said to me that on Sunday nights, you look over your portfolio and you decide what you're going to trade. I do.
I'm, kind with my background, and I'm one of these kind of precise people. So I lay everything out, and I know where everything is, and it's the only way I know how to do it. And so I spend time on Sunday, either in the evening or early in the morning, and analyze all my trades and look at my portfolio and figure out what the week holds and where the problems are and where the fixes need to happen. So I'm very disciplined about it. For me, it's like trading is it's a discipline. Mm-hmm. And I show up for it even when I've had maybe a rough day on the trade or the market does something really crazy, like that little recent drop we saw on Netflix. And I just keep showing up and just saying, no, like not to get all emotionally wrought or caught up in it, just like show up and do the work.
Well, you're doing pretty well financially off this little trading thing.
I am. Yeah. It's been amazing.
Yes. Have you rewarded yourself with anything? Some people buy houses or cars. Have you bought any shoes or...
I bought this really beautiful scarf from India.
Oh, very nice.
But for me right now, I'm trying to get to a place where I don't have to officially work anymore and I can actually just trade and live off of my money there. So I'm really into reinvesting what I make at this point in time. Mm-hmm. And I hope to, I hope to live like you, Tyrone, at some point.
Oh, well, I'll get you there. I'll put it to you that way. It's a lot of fun. Shannon, I don't know even if you remember this, but you said to me once, and you let me know if this still stands. You said, I feel like this is the reason I moved to New York.
I do remember that, and it absolutely still stands. I remember when I moved here, I knew that it wouldn't be long. My parents were going to retire, and they would have the farm. They probably would sell it. What would we do with that? That'd be the money that our family would have. And I knew that would be coming in the future. So when I was first introduced to your class, I could see that in the future. And I connected those two things. And I thought someday this is going to connect to that. And so I knew right then, I thought, life gives you moments where you're like, how did I get here sort of thing? How in the world did I get to New York City from this country plains of Texas? Sometimes you just scratch your head and think, what am I doing here? And I had a moment like that where I literally thought, this is that. And one day this is going to really make a difference. So the difference between when I was trading with you originally, I just had a little money in my IRA. And learned what you were doing, what the power behind it was, and then I knew that someday I would have essentially the farm responsibility, and that I would come back and I would do it, do the trades and learn the strategies to help my whole family. So, and that's exactly what's happened. So I knew the moment that happened, I wanted to come back and find you, find out where you were. It had been probably 5 or 6 years. I thought, oh gosh, I got to go find where Tyrone is. So I did, and you were so gracious to have me back, and I was so grateful to be back. And it has made a really big difference. I've had a lot to learn. I've found out that the market conditions have changed. I was so eager when I started again. I actually kind of jumped in before I came to class and made a few mistakes. I was like, oh, it's a different world from when we first were there. So I've been working on those things and learning some strategies, taking it slow and easy. I'm definitely not the star pupil in class, but everything I've learned has really made a tremendous difference.
The question that I get asked a lot is, how much time do you spend on research? Right. Now, for me, it's a little bit different. A, I'm the teacher, right? And B, when I'm actually researching, it's just effortless. It doesn't feel like, oh, I must sit at the computer and actually look at these charts, And I don't know if anybody else had this experience. You're looking at a chart and you're going, well, I wonder what the heck Hewlett Packard is doing in relationship to this stuff. And then you look up and it's like, man, I got to get something to eat. Anybody want to respond to this notion of research and how much research you actually do? Anyone?
I love exploring the stock market, and I'm actually an early riser. I often will get up at 5 or 6 in the morning, and it's one of my favorite things to do is to get on and start analyzing and seeing what's going on, and just checking out, especially with these recent events. It's like, all right, so who's done well and who's not done well, and why is that, and how is the market thinking that they put their money there and not there? So I find it just really interesting because you're trying to think like the market and understand what makes it tick and why it's doing what it's doing. So it's kind of endlessly fascinating.
Does it feel like you're researching, like you're really sitting down to do work when you're looking at those charts and looking at your favorite stocks?
I mean, not for me. It's not work at all. It's really quite pleasurable. I mean, sometimes I think there might be something wrong with me because it's so pleasurable. But it's not work. If it were work, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Anybody else want to speak to the idea of research?
Great thing about this program is you can do as much research, you can go as far as you want, or you can adjust it to what your schedule is. There have been different times in my life since I've been in the program where I have more time to look at it or less time. But you come to class, you are a part of a community, you all keep in touch. You can keep track just with the stocks that you're trading, or you can read all you want and learn all you want. And it does become something other than just work once you have a framework of context and how to put it in. And it's really just, I don't know, it's very interesting just to see what's happening day to day.
For me, I see the world totally different now because, I interact with my wife and, some of the purchases that she makes. I'm like, so is this really popular? And you're like, oh, I wonder who makes that. Who's the manufacturer? Do they trade on the open market? And you start really doing the research and you start evaluating. You're like, oh, I wonder how this company does. And do they pay a dividend? And all the things that we learn in class of how to evaluate a company, you're like, should I consider this? Should I not? Maybe just speak to Tyrone about it, speak to some other folks in class and run it by them. So your ability to sort of analyze what's going on in the real world as far as trading is concerned has really, really sort of changed.
Well, I'm a huge fan. If you have a Verizon cell phone bill, right, and you don't own those shares, something is wrong because you are paying that company hundreds of dollars per month and you're not getting a dividend. And when that stock rises because you're helping contribute it to the top and the bottom line, if you don't own those shares, something is wrong. Anybody else share that view?
Yes, I really like to trade things that I use, like Amazon and Google and Netflix and Facebook and eBay, all those Visa and MasterCard, all the things that come in front of me, I like to trade.
Yeah.
And know more about.
Am I the only one who drives past, there's a Verizon and a Starbucks like every 3 miles, right?
Yeah.
So every time I drive past Starbucks, I'm like, you guys did great the last quarter. Thank you so much for making the money. Or I drive past Verizon, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not going to trade you, but I'm going to take that dividend. I actually see the world differently also because I don't see these as just companies. These are companies that I have a small piece of ownership in.
The other thing that I feel is that I can't trade something that I don't have heart for personally. And, for example, with everything that Amazon's doing and it's like, okay, so I have heart in that stock, or I see what's going on with Facebook and how they're expanding mobile advertising and everything that they're doing there. And it's like, okay, that company has a future and, they're really, really smart. So I kind of have to have an affinity for them. And if it's a company or a store that I don't personally like to go into and use, then I don't like to own its stock because I just feel maybe it's going to go and maybe it's not, but it doesn't work for me.
Right. Anyone else?
when I first came into the program and you were trading McDonald's like crazy. And I'm like, I can't do that. And Linda Bianchi was next to me and she said, oh, well, do you want to be rich or not?
Because is there for any of you this notion of conviction? Like, because sometimes we learn that there's one company we all know, very popular, and 12-year-old kids are making their products in China, right?
Okay.
Is that a conflict for anybody here? Apparently not, because
Well, it's loaded. That's a loaded question.
because the stock rises,
It's
everybody goes, well, I don't really have a
loaded.
problem with
Yeah,
it.
It's really loaded.
We're talking about Apple, obviously. Anybody have a conflict with that? With all those jobs being exported to China?
I paid for a year of college tuition for my daughter with it.
Okay.
And Apple's one of those things that you just, if you're a tech, and I'm not really a techie kind of guy, but once I've discovered Apple products, just fell in love with everything Apple. My computer, laptop, iPad. I have all the products, iPhone, and the refresh, and I'm like, gosh, I really like the products, and they have this other half on it, and it's one of those things. It's just like Philip Morris. You're like, Philip Morris makes cigarettes,
Right. And that dividend is so high. I know.
That
It's really
dividends
weird.
is so juicy.
Yeah.
You're like, so you got to make decisions.
Right. Well, I always say
Don't judge me. Don't judge
Right.
me.
Or take the money from the market, give it to a charity, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that is another way in which we could at least do something that's positive. Now, in the Wealthy Investor Program, we focus on trading, right, which is buying a stock to sell it quickly and make a profit. And we also focus on investing. I want to talk specifically about trading because you all trade different things. Marion likes options. Schubert, do you like options or shares?
I like both.
Okay, you like both, Shannon, options or shares?
I'm more comfortable with shares, but I'm learning more about options and moving into that more.
Okay. Jesse?
I mean, I like both, I would say, but I'm on a learning curve with trading options.
Okay. I thought you were trading options more.
Well, I mean, I am, and actually, I just had a really good one with a company that had earnings, and it jumped.
I know who it is. I know it was a blinding speed.
Yes, blinding speed, and I actually had options that that just skyrocketed overnight. So that was very exciting. And
So did I. I was right there with you. I don't want to say the name of the company because
Yeah.
everybody will jump on it, but it did extraordinarily well.
and it's still very, very strong. So, so I'm definitely getting my feet wet more and more with the options trading, and it's good.
Don't worry, in commercial, I'll tell you what it is. Don't worry, you'll know exactly what it is. What does it? Who's the option? Where are my option traders? Okay, so Schubert, what does it take to really get good at options? And let me just preface this by saying, we trade longer dated options, right, Marion?
Some of us.
Right. Generally, longer dated options, time to be right about the direction of a stock. In your view, what does it take to be a really good options trader?
I think for me, it's really preparing for the option. And I really like your discipline of either being able to pay for the option straight out with covered call premiums or being able to pay for half of them with covered call premiums. So therefore, if the option rises and you make money and you make profit, it's great. And even if it pulls back a little bit, in essence, you really haven't lost anything of your own principal sort of investment. So that aspect of it makes it, you can take the risk, yet still not take the loss on the downside.
Marion, what does it take to be a good options trader in your view?
Oh, I wish I knew Tyrone.
Well, you're supporting yourself from trading, so you know a few things by now.
What does it take? Well, I think one of the most important things you taught me was, and I ask it in other areas of life too, what if I'm wrong?
Yes, what if I'm wrong?
So knowing before you get in what to do in that case, I think is important.
Mm-hmm. Jesse?
I would say taking calculated risks and as Marion was saying, really thinking about what you're doing before you just click and really kind of figure out, well, how you would get out if you needed to and how you're going to cover it if it doesn't go as you thought it was going to go. So I mean, I would say that's kind of my strategy.
Very good. I'm going to get into, when we come back from this commercial break, I'm going to talk about specifically about the trades that you like. Some of you like covered calls. Some of you like leaps options. Some of you like stock splits. So don't go anywhere. More Trading Stocks Made Easy right after this.
You're listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Want to learn more about how to trade and invest in the stock market? Visit thewealthyinvestor.net/products. That's thewealthyinvestor.net/products and order the Wealthy Investor's Guide to Stock Market Success audio series. This easy-to-follow 5-CD audio series and manual will teach you the basics of how to buy and sell stocks, how to collect quarterly dividends for life, plus hidden income generating strategies like covered call writing and volatility trading. Start creating financial freedom right now. Get the financial education you need to get ahead. Visit thewealthyinvestor.net/products.
Wealthy Investor, Wealthy Investor, wealthyinvestorradio.com.
And welcome back to Trading Stocks Made Easy. And as promised before the break, I want to throw this out to the group. And we're talking about trading today, how much time we spend researching what trades we like and how it's changed and influenced our lives. I'm going to toss out a trade and just jump in and tell me your response to it. Covered call writing. Who likes it and why? Who favors it strongly and why?
I love it and favor it because of the protection. The stock doesn't go up. The stock stays the same. The stock even goes down just a little bit. You're still covered.
Right. You're still generating income no matter how it goes. Anybody else really strongly favor covered calls?
I love covered calls. And one of the things that's been really nice is we've been in kind of a holding pattern with many stocks, and you can just make a lot of money when the stock's not doing anything. It doesn't have to go up, and you're still pulling in a lot of income.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I like about covered calls that we do in class is you can just straight sell covered calls, but what's really cool is how you show us to strategize them, to use them in different ways, different programs, different methods. You can marry them with options. You can come up with regular staggered strategies that just really make it easy. You can make that very routine. It's just like residual income. You do them once a week, you're quick in and out, and they really, really great.
Volatility trading shares. Anybody really like volatility trading shares?
It's like a drug.
Yes. Why is it like a drug? I know. I hear that all the time.
I arrived to this program and just could not get enough of it.
This man's a doctor, ladies and gentlemen.
Junkie. Call me a junkie.
What is it you like about it so much?
It's just because, when you sit and watch and pay attention and you're new to trading, it's just something to just sit there and watch a stock go from, 55 to 57 and it's real money. It's partly your money, partly the institution, whatever your trading platform is, their money just married together, and your profits are just jumping up, and you're just like, wow, this is real money happening right now, and I'm going to cash out. And I'm going to do this again at another time. Mm-hmm. And it's the best feeling. You're like, you could really get used to this.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Anybody use good till canceled orders, GTCs, in their trading? Schubert, you're saying yes. Why?
Because I've again, working as a physician, I don't have the luxury of being at a computer, being on my phone 24/7. So I set a trade, I put in the order, and I just wait to see what happens.
Anybody else with a GTC? Marion, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me why you use them.
Well, I like to use triggers. So if I go out and I've got trades working, I will put the triggers on to, complete a transaction.
Okay. Leaps options. Anybody like leaps options? Jesse, why?
Well, because they can just do startlingly wonderful things. If the stock market isn't going up and you can't close them out, then it's stock. It's a stock surrogate. So then you can write covered calls against it, so that even if it's sitting a little dormant, you're still making money off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody? When I first started trading, I was in love with stock splits because they were just so predictable when a good company would split. Anybody else share that feeling about stock splits? We really haven't had a lot of them in the past couple of years. Yeah. Any thoughts on that at all?
we haven't had the same environment you had.
No, when I first started, it was a .com era, and you could buy anything with .com, and that thing was going up. So no one's in love with stock splits. That's just my little secret for now.
No, we always get super hyped about them when we hear that they're going to happen.
Right, right.
You know, and the stock all of a sudden rises, and you know, there's all this talk about, you know, when it's going to occur, and everybody's just in anticipation, like, well, should we do something before? Should we wait till after? You know, it's the mystery of what's going to happen with the stock split.
Let's talk about another thing that comes up, which is IPOs. Now, I am not a huge fan of an initial public offering when a company's about to go public. Those companies have been crushed. We're hearing now that Snapchat just applied to go public. Would anybody here buy Snap? I'm the teacher. Certain things you're not going to tell me, but would anybody be inclined to buy Snapchat the day it opened?
No.
Okay. Why?
I would be tempted.
You would be tempted? Why?
I bought Facebook when it opened.
Okay. And you held on to it?
Yep.
And how's it doing for you?
Great.
Yes, I bet it is. Talk on it. Okay.
I know she got it at
The earnings weren't there, but
$28
it
or
worked
something.
out. Anybody else feel good about IPOs?
I mean, when I have to think of and evaluate my risk, you know, I think about, you know, something that's well established, and there's just so many other well established things to start. And I mean, I do like risky things at some times, but you know, an IPOs they just don't have anything to really hold on to, and it's difficult for me to just dump money in there and just wait,
Right.
and for that unpredictable portion of it. So.
Stocks under $10. Anybody trade stocks under $10? Okay. Why? Shannon?
Buckets of
Yes. Horse stuff. You grew up on a farm.
Yes.
Yeah. If you ever want to throw your money away.
you're better off following where the big money is, and they're always in stocks that have great earnings.
Okay. We're at that point in the show, and you guys have, I don't know if since you've all listened to the episodes, you know what I mean when I say we're at that point in the show. Do you know what that means? No, thank you. Okay. So I see where we're going here. So these are my loyal listeners and students, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, when we do a roundtable, I throw out ticker symbols, and then you give me your honest, visceral response.
Oh, fun.
Okay? So don't hold back here. Marion, don't hold back.
Okay.
Okay, and you tell me honestly what you think. AMZN.
Oh, awesome! I think it's a stellar company, and I just think it's going to keep growing. And with the stock being priced where it is, it's bound to split. Talking about stock splits at some point, we don't know when, but it should probably happen.
Amazon has taken over the world.
It is. We really just live it in Amazon. Everybody thinks it's Apple. It's really Amazon.
It's Amazon.
Marion?
The best thing is that it's low priced at the moment.
Low price. It's $700 a share.
No.
Relatively, it's down now, and it hopefully will go back up.
Relatively, it is down now. Okay. Tesla. Anybody want to touch Tesla?
Volatile.
Yes,
Yes.
very
Volatile.
volatile. Elon Musk, innovator.
Yeah.
Would anybody here own Tesla stock?
I've never actually purchased it.
Okay.
I've traded it.
You've traded it. Why?
Oh, it's so much fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's a lot of risk, though.
It's a lot of risk, but 1 or 2 contracts, and you can make a lot of money.
Okay. Coca-Cola, ticker symbol KO.
Yeah.
You know, Coca-Cola is an oldie but a goodie.
You like it?
I used to trade it and I used to own it. And, you know, there's just other stocks that just are moving and that are doing other things, and I can get higher dividends. So I've just moved on past it, but I have not forgotten about it.
Okay. Anybody else on Coca-Cola?
I think it's on a downward trend.
HD.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tricky.
Okay. Who owns it here? Anyone?
I own it.
Okay, so Jesse and Shannon.
Yeah.
Would you continue to own it, Shannon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
You can own it for growth. I think you could also own it just to trade. It's volatile. You could volatility trade it. You could just hold on to it. I think it's going up. It's great. I love it.
Now, everybody here's talking about trading. Nobody has an investment that's done really well for them. Am I the only one who owns V?
I own V.
For the past 5, I mean, that's
I own
just
V.
been sensational for the past 5 years. Anybody agree with me on that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody Buffalo Wild Wings?
Buffalo Wild
No.
Wings.
Nope.
Have anyone own that?
No, I don't own it.
Okay. It's
It's
at
actually
100.
just too expensive now.
Well, I know it's gone up. It's doubled in 5 years. Costco. Anybody own Costco? COST is the ticker symbol there.
I trade it sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't own
You
it.
trade everything.
I do.
She's doing very well.
If it moves, Marion will trade it.
Wow.
All right. Now, here's one that's going to get a response. DIS.
Disney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trade or an investment? Anyone? Well, hold on. Let's go to Marion first. Marion,
Yeah.
can you trade that? Not lately.
You can trade it, but it hasn't been fun lately. It
No.
hasn't been good
Yeah,
to
it's
me
not
for
been-
about a year.
It's not been-
Who likes it as a long-term hold?
I love it as
Yeah,
a long-term
yeah.
hold.
Okay. Why?
Just because the company and its history and, and all the things that it's doing, the other companies that it owns and, just doing the research and seeing how far and widespread Disney is, it really is a very attractive and stable place, regardless of what's going on in the market, although it hasn't been pushing through the roof and rising, but it's been a steady, good stock that continues to get good press. They continue to make good decisions. And I'm going to take my kids to Disney. They're going to have lots of Disney products. And therefore, I'm just going to be in the stock for the future.
What about ESPN? They're having all the problems with ESPN.
It's all hype. I mean, ESPN is a small portion of the bigger picture. And that's what people don't get.
Yeah. How about MA? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody's saying yes. Is that trade, Marion, or an investment?
It was an investment for a very long time, and then you suggested that it become a trade.
Well, we did, and then it's almost back to being an investment again. Yeah. Okay, my final one, and this is a given. NFLX. Anyone?
Wonderful stock.
Notice how they don't. This is how you know they're making money. Everybody's being really cool because we're in the studio. It's like NFL.
Moaning.
Come on, that has been your
amazing.
biggest
It's been
money maker
amazing.
this year.
It's been
Yes.
amazing. The
Absolutely.
covered call premiums are unbelievable.
Yeah, and the leaps have been.
And the leaps have been phenomenal.
I've
as
tried
well.
not to make the whole year just trading Netflix.
Right.
But it has just been, and that'll end.
It's
at some point.
volatile.
It's
volatile.
highly volatile.
You gotta ride it.
Yeah. How many of you like it for option buying?
I like it for option buying.
I like it for option buying
Yeah.
too. Why, Schubert?
Just because it's so volatile. It's so volatile and it can move. And, you almost need to set a trigger because it goes up and down during the day. And you never know when it's going to go. And there could be news coming out in the middle of the day, news coming out at night. And before you know it, you're like, Jesus, what has happened?
Right. And I was making so much money off the stock that I figured it was time to get a Netflix subscription. I didn't even have one. I was like, I should probably see what goes on.
Contribute.
I know, right? Because
Support
the
your
bottom
stock.
line.
I know I live between two cities, so I don't have time to watch a lot of movies and TV shows. People are like, "Did you see what happens on Netflix?" I was like, "No, but I made $5,000 last weekend." I can tell you that. Anybody have a favorite stock that I haven't mentioned that maybe you want to talk about for the long term that you like? It's not necessarily a recommendation, but just something that you like.
I've always really liked AT&T.
Okay, that is correct. Why don't you tell the audience why you like it so much?
Because the stock,
It's been very good to you and your family, by the way.
Ooh, it's been so sweet. And the dividend is really what really turns it up for me because, I used to really volatility trade and I wrote covered calls and I was purchasing a lot of AT&T and that's almost all I was building in my portfolio. And when those dividend checks would come, now, just for example, this summer, my family and I, we went on vacation on AT&T and it's like, this is courtesy of AT&T.
Yes.
Like it, love it.
And you have 2 kids now?
Yes.
You see that macaroni and cheese you're eating? It's got AT&T written all over it.
You better believe it.
Anybody else have a favorite stock that they would like to talk about that's been good to them? Marion the Rebel over there. She's got 4 of them she won't mention.
No, I try not to fall in love. It's really hard.
It is difficult.
It's very hard because they do go out of favor. And I was extremely upset when Disney went down and very mad at myself for not selling it when it was way up there. So I'm trying not to, as you say, don't marry them.
Yes, we have a saying in the Wealthy Investor program, which is never fall in love with a stock. We just date them. So we're not trying to get married to them. But it's very hard to do emotionally. But one of the things I say to everybody, which is like, there'll be another great day. When I was growing up, we used to say there are more fish in the sea. And that process never stops happening. We're almost out of time. I'm surprised that no one mentioned Apple when given the opportunity to talk about a stock that's been really good to you. Why was that?
Apple seems, as you've talked about, this isn't really my thought necessarily, that it's lacking in innovation right now. So although with the latest election result, it seems like the stock market has started supporting it, Wall Street has started supporting it again. But I was going to say, I'm actually really kind of fond of Facebook, because it's got great covered call premiums, and Wall Street seems to support it, and I also think it's a very strong forward-moving company. So it's a favorite of mine, and I've done really well with it thus far.
Yeah, it's definitely one that you definitely want to watch for the future. I want to go around really quickly in about 30 seconds. Each of you, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be successful, either as a trader or as a investor, and maybe they're just a little hesitant or afraid? Let's start with Schubert, and we'll go around.
Listen, this experience is so nerve-wracking. You put the money in your account, you just sit there and you go to class and you sort of absorb everything, and you take it really just step by step. And some people are going to leap, and some people are just going to just tiptoe into the water. I'm one of those people. I like to tiptoe, and when I made money for the first time in the stock market, it's like I tiptoed and the water was warm and I just jumped right in. So I think it's really just starting off in whatever's most comfortable for you, but you really just have to do it. And sometimes you have to go out on a leap of faith, and you really have to know that this is going to be your future and this is what you're going to choose to do. And the only way you're going to be able to make money is actually taking that first step. And once you take that first step and you make some money, you just won't even believe it. You're just like, wow, it's just this easy, Tyrone?
Yes, it is.
Just click?
Yep.
That's it?
That's all you have to do.
I didn't even believe the money was in my account. It was already there.
Yeah, because it's just data initially.
Just data, yeah.
Yeah. Marion?
I agree that it's easy, but it's also very difficult. And I think you have to put yourself in a safe environment like you create with the Wealthy Artist Program. And unless you're some kind of, you have financial background or you're a math genius, I think it would be very hard to do it by yourself. It's easy to do, but it would be very difficult not to have some kind of support.
I think that's good advice. Shannon?
I think about whenever you have invited new people in, or people that are just joining the program, they're considering joining. And I always tell them, whether they're considering it's new, they're not familiar with the math, this is not something that's natural to them, I just say, you have to do it. You don't have a choice. You really must learn this. This is an education that you have to get. And, whenever you talk to your friends and family, if you do this, just be cautious how you discuss it with them, because they're not going to understand. And it's something you have to make a decision to push forward through. And it's determination, because you really, it's too powerful not to insist to learn it.
Very interesting. Jesse?
I consider it to be a kind of personal responsibility that, here's something that's so important to your life. It's about money, which gives you all kinds of liberty and freedom and ability to do certain things. And why would you let someone else handle it just because you're not just taking a little bit of time to focus in on it and do it for yourself, where you actually really know what's going on? And I'm also really in agreement with Marion. It's really nice having the whole class format, because I always walk away from our weekends together and I'm inspired and enthusiastic, and I've talked to other people and heard what's been working for other people, what works for me, and so we share a lot, and so it's fun. It's like it's a community, and it's fun, and then I'm also doing something for myself in the same process, and my family and everybody around me.
Right. Well, I can't thank you all for coming in and sharing your thoughts, your ideas, the trades you like, the stocks that you like. I mean, this whole thing is about inspiring other people to really change their lives and not be intimidated and live in fear. And don't give your money to somebody else, as Jesse has pointed out, because you can, with the right education, certainly make a lot more on your own. Would you all agree with that?
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying, by the way, I just want to say this because I've been doing a lot of speaking in a lot of places. Trading is not for everyone. That's the other thing that I've learned. But I would say probably about 95% of the people who I actually meet go on to do really well and enjoy themselves. So thank you all for coming in and sharing your stories.
Thank you.
And I hope that you got something out of it, maybe a little bit more insight, or maybe you've heard yourself in some of the people who actually came in today's show. And I'm here to tell you that if you really, really want to, your life can be better off financially than you could ever imagine. And if you're a woman, you probably want to learn how to trade and invest, maybe a little bit more than your male counterpart, because you will live longer, which means you will need more money than us guys. Hey, this is Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, saying I'll see you next time right here on Trading Stocks Made Easy.
You've been listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. While you're on iTunes, be sure to click the subscribe button and you'll automatically receive our next episode.